Take a look at what he did. What's up, guys? Hoodlum 2002 here with another Diecast review video. Today, as you can probably tell by that intro, we are going to be reviewing Ross Chastain's Martinsville Hail Melon car from last year. But before we get to the car, we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at the box. So at the front, you have this is made in the Checkers or Wreckers line. So here's the front box. Again, really weird that they didn't put like a picture of the car right here. This is the standard finish, official diecast of NASCAR. At the front right here, Checkers and Wreckers. Made a total of 2,648 of these. Checkers and Wreckers, Action Racing Collectibles. On the back, Checkers and Wreckers, official diecast of NASCAR, 1/24 scale. There's the back of the box. Again, at the top, you got the giant Checkers or Wreckers with like the, I guess the caution flag or something right here with the checker flag over here. And the bottom has your copyright and all that. Again, want to have like a backdrop here, so I just put a couple of my 164s. Again, a lot of them are Dale Jr. and Alex Bowman. That's mainly who I get. I might have to try to dig some more of mine out to maybe give it a bit more diverse. But let's go ahead and adjust camera here for a quick second. Today we are taking a look at this. Oh, whoops. I'm trying to get this set up. Okay, we'll just leave it like this. I'll just work with it as we go. I can't stop hitting my camera. I gotta figure that out. Alright, anyways, here is the car itself. Probably the most famous car of all time from this race. I'll zoom in just a little bit more. If you want a definition of giving it 100%, Ross Chastain did that to a T in this race. But before we talk about that, let's just go ahead and get down to the sponsors on the car. So on the hood, you have Moose Fraternity. On the front, you've got Chevy ZL1. You got the number 1 logo right there with the Trackhouse logo. You got Sunoco down there at the bottom. Zoom in a little bit more. Going down the side, you've got Goodyear. You got the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs logo. You got the round of 8 sticker right there. And then I don't know what this is. I think that's like a Martinsville 75th anniversary or something like that. And number 1 right there. You got beamoose.org down there on the side. You got Advent Health, Siemens, Worldwide Express, and Jockey. You got Ross Chastain's name on the name rail with the little watermelon emoji. You got the 2 wind stickers, I believe, from Coda and I believe it was Talladega, if I'm remembering correctly. On the B post, you got Chevrolet, Advent Health, and the Trackhouse Racing logo. On the back of the car, you got Moose Fraternity, Chevy Camaro ZL1. Got the Trackhouse logo and the number 1 right there. On the deck lid, you've got Moose Fraternity. You got Chastain's name right there on the on the window. Moose Fraternity on the roof. I got number 1,274. Of course, going down the other side, you got the same stuff. You do have a Rob Rose name right there, with as long as a decal as well right there. Let's get the hood opened. If I can get it opened. Okay, here we go. I gotta use my smaller screwdriver. Come on, there we go. Don't want to break this. Under the hood, you just have a Chevy bow tie. There's the engine detail on the next gen cars. Roof flaps open. With this being the ARC, the deck lid does not open. And then there's the underside, the complete underside of the car, smooth underside. So now let's get to probably the storytelling part of this car, and that is all of the damage. So on the hood, you can kind of see some rubber and whatnot. Some rubber right here all on the grill. Not really much damage on the right side, probably got some like little bits of tire wear on the tires. Got some little scrapes and whatnot going down the side, probably from slamming into people. Got some tire marks right here behind the rear tire, as well as some of the lettering is rubbed off, and some more contact right here on the quarter panel. On the back, definitely have some rear end damage from obviously getting bumped around. You can see some rubber in the Moose logo. And now the part that is the most famous. I can't stop hitting my camera stand. For now, the part that is the storyteller of the car, and that is the right side of this car, when Chastain just absolutely shoved it up against the wall, went full throttle, full send, no care, if in doubt, flat out, to make it to the championship for it. So they've got the damage on the right here around the rear wheel. Goodyear's completely rubbed off the tire. Lino doing their best to replicate the wheels that were scuffed up after hitting the wall as well. Got all this side skirt damage. Got giant marks going through the one. Giant damage up here towards the front of the car. Again, Goodyear completely rubbed off. So, just gonna leave that right there. So, to paint the picture, coming down to the end of Martinsville, Ross Chastain and Hamlin were basically fighting each other for the final spot in the playoffs. I believe going into the final lap, there was actually a point where Hamlin and Chastain were fighting each other for a little bit. But Hamlin ended up getting by Chastain, ended up driving through the field, trying to gain as many positions as he could to get as many points to obviously keep the lead over Chastain. Because each car you pass up is a point. Going into the final lap, Chastain was 2 points below the cut line of making it to the final four. But Chastain was way too far back to gain any spots. He gained as many spots as he, at the time, possibly could have gotten. I believe the last car he passed was Chase Elliott, and he was a ways away from the next car that he was going to pass. Really, going into the final lap, he needed to hope that Hamlin would either make a mistake that would cost him 2 spots, as I believe Chastain had the tiebreaker, because to determine the tiebreaker, it is, I believe, who finished the highest of any of the races in that round. So, like, if Chastain finished, I think he finished second at Vegas or something like that, I can't remember. Like, say Chastain had a second place finish in that round, Hamlin's best finish was like maybe 5th. The tiebreaker would be given to Chastain because he had a better finish in that round. Martinsville's not that big of a track, so you really don't have a whole lot of time to think of what you're going to do. So I believe exiting 2, Chastain asked his spotter, maybe as they took the final lap, Chastain asked his spotter, he's like, so we need 2 positions to make the playoffs? And his spotter goes, yeah, we need 2 positions. Off of 2, going down the back straightaway, Chastain decides, you know what, might as well give this a shot. Upshifts the car to 5th gear, which you never go to 5th gear in Martinsville, and just doesn't attempt to make the corner, stays right up next to the wall, shifts to 5th gear, sends it into the wall, and completely slingshots around, I believe it was like 5 or 6 cars. And all the momentum that he had, he ended up coming off of turn 4, passing up Denny Hamlin, and bumping into the back of, I believe it was Brad Keselowski. I believe Chastain finished, I think it was either 5th or 6th in this race. So not only did he gain the amount of points that he needed, because he only needed 2 to put it in a tiebreaker, and again, I believe he had the tiebreaker. He went the extra mile and passed up more cars than what he needed to pass, and even beat Hamlin to the line. I can't even remember what my reaction was. All I know is it was probably the same as everyone else. And what was fun, well, I just hit my camera right there again. What was funny was if you were watching it on TV, because there was so much going on, NBC had 3 cameras shown on screen at the same time. They had one focusing on Christopher Bell, because Christopher Bell won the race, but I think that was immediately kind of overshadowed by what Chastain did. But Christopher Bell won the race. They had another camera on Chastain, and I think they had another one on Hamlin, but I'm not entirely sure. They had 3 cameras. They had 3 different screens. They had 3 screens on at the same time. One was Christopher Bell, one was Chastain, and I can't remember what the third one was. Before they cut to the single clip of the full screen of Bell crossing the line, just before they do that, if you obviously on the YouTube version, they show the full screen is Chastain riding the wall. But on the actual like TV broadcast, when they were showing the 3 cameras, when you were looking down at Ross Chastain, you could see him go up against the wall for like a split second before they cut to the full screen of Bell crossing the line. And at the top of the screen, you just see Chastain wall riding around the wall to get by all those cars that he got by. I think it just came an absolute shock. And then once they showed the replay, it was crazy. Like, the way that Chastain just executed this was insane. You know, and it's ironic because I believe like at the Roval, Briscoe or someone like that got like disqualified for not going 100% or something like that. Chastain went as 100% as you could go. I mean, at the time, there wasn't a rule against wall riding because it had never really worked the last few times it was attempted. Carl Edwards did it in like 2008. I think it was like Kansas or Las Vegas. He freaking drove down to the bottom, slid up in front of Jimmy Johnson, slammed the wall, and he said he tried to just wall ride it, but it didn't work. Larson in, I believe, 2021 tried the same thing at Darlington, rode up against the wall. Basically, I think he said he rode the wall the whole final lap or something like that. 3 and 4 rode the wall, got right up to the back bumper of Denny Hamlin, but obviously Hamlin had blocked the top side, so Larson couldn't get by him. And then I believe Sheldon Creed last year at Darlington also tried to do it, but I believe Creed said he had a tire going down in the corner, so he knew he wasn't going to make the corner, so he just put it up against the wall and hoped for it to work, which it didn't, sadly, but it was still pretty cool to see. So that's probably part of the reason why NASCAR never made a rule against it when it was attempted those times, and maybe there were some other times that I'm missing, was because it never worked the way the driver wanted it to. Obviously, those 3 times was going for winning the race. What Chastain did wasn't even for winning the race. It was to make the championship for. And because it worked, obviously there wasn't a rule at the time, so NASCAR decided to let Ross keep the position. So Ross Chastain, and I mean, I don't know. I was seeing some people saying NASCAR should have penalized him or whatnot, but at the same time, if there wasn't a rule against it at the time, then you might as well do it. But obviously, when Chastain did it, and knowing the durability of the next gen car and giving it a composite body, it doesn't give as much. So you could probably, again, full send it around the wall at any short track, and it would probably work, which was crazy. But and watching the Radioactive, hearing some of the drivers' reactions was crazy. And I mean, like, that move, like, videos and replays of this move got so many views. I think they were like over 100 million views that this one singular moment got in that time. Like, I went into work the next day, and like a lot of the coworkers that I talk to at work, they don't watch NASCAR. But they literally came up to me and they asked me about this move. They were like, what did you think of it? And I was like, I told them what I thought. I was like, I think it's pretty cool. But I feel like they're going to make a rule against this because you don't want, because now that Ross Chastain has shown that this can work, if NASCAR doesn't make a rule on this, you're going to have the whole field wall riding to try to do something, and NASCAR can't have that. You can't just have the final lap be the whole field putting it up against the wall to, you know, to gain positions. Had to take a drink there for a second. But even my brother don't watch NASCAR, really doesn't know anything about NASCAR. And now the only reason he brought it up was because I asked him. I was like, "Hey, did you ever see anything about a guy running the wall in a NASCAR race?" He's like, "Yeah, that was crazy." I was like, "Yeah." So he only basically thought of it because I asked him. But I want to see, like, okay, if this thing, if this move is getting that many views to where, like, my coworkers are asking me about it, I want to see, like, my brother, who has never watched NASCAR, like, in his life, or, well, he's seen bits and pieces of races here and there, but it doesn't follow it like I do. What was his reaction? And again, like, people who've never seen, like, even other drivers from other motorsports, IndyCar, I believe F1 were even commenting about it. I think Roman Grosjean said something about it. There was just a bunch of different motorsport drivers saying something about it. So obviously, going into today's race at Martinsville, this move is outlawed. NASCAR said that if you wall ride basically the final lap, or you do any kind of wall riding, you will be penalized. And this wasn't the first time Chastain tried finding a loophole. I believe the first time was at the Indy Road Course, going into the first corner. The whole, like, Logano made it like 5, 3, 4, 5 wide or whatever. And I believe Chastain, like, knew a wreck was gonna happen, so he just took that little access road, which NASCAR only said, like, you didn't have to do a stop and go. So whenever you go through that little part, you would go through that part, and that was it. Chastain did that, came out with the lead. He gave the lead back, but NASCAR still ended up penalizing him. So I don't know. I was seeing some people talking about that too, but NASCAR didn't penalize him here. And actually, going into this year at the Indy Road Course, NASCAR was like, "Oh, hey, when you take that little access road, you have to do a stop and go," which I'm surprised they didn't, enforce that when Chastain took it, last year. Because I was seeing a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's supposed to be a slower way around," because I don't even think Chastain ever really slowed down much. He probably obviously slowed down a little bit to make that corner, but it's just crazy. And a lot of people, and NASCAR didn't outlaw this move going into Phoenix. So, and I won't lie, I was kind of expecting another wall ride from Chastain, but it didn't happen. But it was crazy. And, after this moment, I was hoping Lionel was going to Lionel had to make this car. We just had a moment happen that we're never going to see happen again. We need a diecast of this. We need a diecast. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people, even I was saying, I was like, man, Lionel better make a diecast of this car. Like, Lionel needs to make a diecast of this car, because this is a moment we're never ever going to see. And this was the number one, this car right here was the number one selling car of 2022, I believe. I don't know what the number one selling car would, I can't remember. I know they posted it, but it's been a while. But this car, if this car was not made, I think the number one car was going to be, I think as far as, like, race version cars go. I think it was going to be Kurt Busch's Kansas win, I believe. But I can't remember what like the overall -- car would be going with race version and just a normal diecast. Like, they put the pre-orders up for this car, I believe, that Monday, the day after the race, or on that Tuesday. And again, like I said, this is the ARC version, and about 2,000, I believe over 2,600 of the ARCs were made. I don't know how many Elites were made, but I'm pretty sure the Elite was probably in like the thousands. It was crazy. And this happened in November, so this car was only basically available, you know, this car went up and shot through the ranks and went straight to number 1, which is fitting because it's also the number 1. Obviously, I'm pretty sure, I know Lionel gives the Elite number 1 car, like they'll either keep it or they give it to someone. I would not be surprised if they gave the number 1 to Trackhouse. And what's cool is Trackhouse actually obviously kept this car, and I went to Charlotte for the 600 earlier this year, and me and my dad, we went to Trackhouse because I wanted to see this car. But sadly they had it put away, but it was still cool to see all the stuff at Trackhouse. I'm pretty sure, obviously, I believe I saw some pictures and tweets that Trackhouse has this car on display somewhere at Martinsville. And Chastain's actually going to be wearing like a Hail Melon themed helmet for this weekend's race. We can't forget about the sponsor, because I'm pretty sure Bia Moose got a lot of exposure from this move. I mean, this paint scheme, I really like this paint scheme. The black and red goes really cool. Again, you got the silhouette of a moose right there. It's pretty cool. So, I mean, this paint scheme is going to go down in that moment. And I believe this is the same. I think this is the same paint scheme that he used to win at COTA. I think. I'm not entirely sure. If you want this car, you better get it while you can, because this thing is gonna be rare. Like, the moment I saw the pre-order go up for it, I pre-ordered it, because I mean, I like Chastain. Obviously, my favorite drivers, Alex Bowman and Dale Jr. But I like to get diecasts like these, like for these special moments. You know, like I have Shane Van Gisbergen's Chicago Street Course win on pre-order, because it's his first ever start. And I've been kind of watching the V8 supercar stuff, and that stuff is really freaking cool. But that's going to do it for a review over this amazing car. Hope you guys enjoy the Martinsville race today. The Xfinity race last night was crazy. Really happy Junior Motorsports has 2 cars in the playoffs. Both Richard Childress cars probably could have made it, but they had some stuff go on. So hoping JRM can get that Xfinity championship. And we are going to determine who will be fighting for a championship at Homestead for the Cup Series in about, I think, less than an hour right now as I'm recording this video. So that's going to do it for this video. I do have a video lined up for next week at Phoenix. It will be an Xfinity car, and a car y'all probably won't think of. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.